all the tow trucks today, and I've never seen that before. Them basically opening the door like that forcefully, it's like stealing a car. What a horrible event that happened today, huh? Unless you live under a rock, I'm guessing everybody heard the same news and everything. I'll talk about that a little later. But first, one thing that I read just by talking about things like near misses, aircrafts, and how people, I guess, freak out more about drones and stuff. This article here, it says, pilot demands drone identification after Fife near miss. An angry private jet pilot has demanded that drones be identifiable after one came 20 meters from his aircraft over Fife. And then because of that and so forth, they talk about other incidents, like for example, it says the UK Air Prox Board also reported today a second category, an incident near Glasgow Airport in which a drone came close as 3 feet from a passenger aircraft. The pilot commented that he was surprised and angry at a drone's proximity and stated that a mandatory identification device should be fitted to drones before a multi-million-pound engine is destroyed or worse. Having finished the approach briefing, the pilot in charge looked up and saw something black moving in his peripheral vision in the right. He turned and looked right and clearly saw a quote quadcopter-like drone. There was no time to take avoiding action. And with that, they basically mentioned things how you shouldn't fly near the airports and all that. I'm still curious why people who fly planes, why don't you just attach like some kind of camera like somewhere, just so there's no and ifs or buts if it's definitely, say, a drone that one saw. I don't think the topic is that straightforward personally. Like, it might make sense if you're flying a drone that's going to in some way intrude, like with say the manned aircraft and all that, but if you're really far away and all that, I don't know if it's right to make it mandatory. It'll be no difference in my opinion to say every car needs to be tracked as well, or maybe even like people's smartphones or whatever, just in case someone uses it in a bad way. Because I would assume for the most part, the reason why a lot of people will say, yes, it makes sense, is because they don't use it themselves. Like, it's not a part of their life. It's not, I guess, quote, essential for them, like as of yet in any way. But when it does start to become, I guess, more mainstream and normalized, then I would imagine most people will say, hey, that's ridiculous. Like, the example in my head is, imagine some kid or something making that flying Lego drone or something like that, saying, yep, when you build that, now you have to put this tracking device on it too. And as for the biggest news today, there was pretty much no going around it. Basically, like here it says in the worldwide trends, like on Twitter, everything about the shooting in New Zealand, about the 2 Christchurch mosques. Basically, somebody went in there and basically just opened fire. While there's a gazillion sources talking about what's going on and all that, what actually got my attention about this story in particular that seemed kind of different in many ways was how, I guess, fast places like the police, they wanted to get rid of the videos and stuff that are related to it, because apparently for this shooter guy, he live streamed it on Facebook, like as he did the killing in preparation for it and everything like that. And then because of that, they're basically actively trying to make sure no website has any videos of this like published anywhere, because it is pretty horrific, you can imagine, right? But for this person, apparently there were publications where he was essentially being asked like how he thinks in life, what inspires him, especially with things like this killing and stuff like that. And what seemed interesting, at least from what I read and to my understanding of it, he was basically playing the world in many ways. Like, he's purposely mentioning big names or celebrities and so forth as a form of inspiration, just to rile up like the news networks, because apparently, to my understanding again, is he knows that's going to work, because when there's an extreme side or something, they're going to take the information and run with it. From what I saw in the video, for example, there were parts before he actually ran in and did his murder spree. He was basically saying things like subscribe to PewDiePie. And for those who don't know, he essentially is the most subscribed person on YouTube, but recently there was a series or a channel called T-Series that's going to surpass him, and many people saw that as the individual versus the company. So a lot of people had this campaign for people to subscribe to that channel so he can maintain as the most subscribed person. He does has his controversies too, but then I guess with this, again, to my understanding, he purposely mentioned him just to rile up the news media and stuff like that, to report on an issue that he wants more exposure to, I guess you could say. That of course forces people like him to make like a statement about it. Like here he says, just heard the news of the devastating reports from New Zealand, Christchurch. I feel absolutely sickened having my name uttered by this person. My heart and thoughts go out to the victims, families, and everyone affected by this tragedy. Can you imagine that? Just some crazy nut job just using your name and basically putting all the negativity on you afterwards, like for his own agenda. Like the other name he used were people like Candace Owens. Is she political or something? I don't follow that stuff usually, so I'm not really sure. But that's just an example how, again, I guess he's just referencing everything because he knows the extreme side will basically take that information and run with it. Like there's even one part, apparently, like this is what he was asked. It says, were you taught violence and extremism by video game, music, literature, cinema? His answer, yes. Spiral the Dragon 3 taught me ethno-nationalism. Fortnite trained me to be a killer and to floss on corpse of my enemies. So again, the assumption, or for the most part my interpretation for what he said and stuff is he's purposely referencing those stuff because people will react to it. Like the video games, for example, like violence. So if someone really hates that category of hobbies and so forth, they'll run with it saying, here's an example of a nut job that was essentially groomed because of stuff like that. As if the guy didn't cause enough grief around the world, huh? He's basically just trying to egg people on even more to essentially go after each other. Should information like this be told to people, or no? Should it always be under wraps because it's too graphic and all that? I just hope people don't go against each other like after this, because if that is basically the intent of this guy, you're basically letting him win, in my opinion. Wow, that thing let one loose during mid-flight. Alright, see you guys later.